This time we're at the Goodwood circuit comparing the iconic Ford GT40 against the 1967 Ferrari 330 P4. The GT40 is best known for winning the 24-hour Le Mans 4 years in a row, and this is the MK1 that won it in 1968 and 1969. The GT40 is available in the Dream Pack 2 DLC and has always been an enjoyable car to drive. However, during this test I started to find more negatives about the car than I originally thought. First and foremost, I feel the sound of the car just doesn't do it justice. Below around 5,000 RPM it just sounds very flat and there's no music to the power of the Ford V8. This probably contributes to the feeling that the power is a bit lacking in the lower RPMs, which is probably quite accurate as this is only a 289 cubic inch based engine. But get the car climbing up towards redline and it just feels like it wants to go faster and faster. Now in general, the car feels like it's floating around a lot, which may be a characteristic modeled into these vintage tires, but it's hard to say. The high-speed cornering was much better than I expected to be, and I felt as if the car was happiest at speeds over 100 miles an hour. The brakes, on the other hand, were a struggle. It took some time and setup work with the brake pressures, brake balance, and shocks to get comfortable braking from high speeds, as the back end had a tendency to want to come around. Of course, this was amplified by the fact I was heel-toe downshifting, but I really had to wrestle this car around to get a decent time. So let's see how we did. The Ferrari 330 P4 also had great success, winning the 24 Hours of Daytona as well as the 1,000 kilometers of Monza in 1967. It's also worth noting how rare the car is, as only 4 were built. Now the great power-to-weight ratio makes the car very nimble around the track, and it managed the bumps of the track better than the GT40. The gearing seems to suit the P4 nicely as well, as it really accelerated through the gears, reaching some impressive speeds. Given the shape of the front of the car with its low nose and high wheel arches, I expected the car to have good front aerodynamics and to perform well in high-speed corners. Though it wasn't bad, it just didn't perform as well as I thought it would. The braking in the P4 felt much more stable than the GT40, and it gave a lot of confidence to be able to brake a lot later. But with this later braking, it also presented a fair amount of drama from this car as well. Lastly, I think Assetto Corsa did a wonderful job with the sounds of the car, and it makes you feel more in touch with the car when driving it. Overall, I found the Ferrari a more enjoyable car to drive. But is it fast enough to beat the GT40? Let's find out. So the 330 P4 takes the win today. It must be said that the Goodwood circuit might not be the strongest playground for the GT40. The Le Mans track might be a better home for it, which would make sense given its real-life success there. I will also say that both cars were quite challenging to drive around the track, particularly the GT40. I'm certain both cars had several tenths in them, it was just a matter of putting it all together for a full lap. In the GT40, the difference between a 121.5 and a 120.5 was significantly more difficult, while the 330 P4's better balance made it easier to get closer to the limits and much more consistent to me. Personally, I still share a soft spot for the GT40, but in Assetto Corsa, I'll be taking the 330 P4. Thanks for watching.